welcome, Immigrant Nation. Another week, another new episode. I am your host, Aaron Deliosa, and this is an Immigrant's Life podcast. As a weekly reminder, if you'd like to stay connected, you can follow me on social media. Our handle is at An Immigrant's Life. Also, feel free to send me an email at animmigrantslife@yahoo.com. If you or someone you know would like to come on the podcast, that's the best way to get in touch avec moi. And once again, every week, I want to thank you for listening, following, liking my post, sharing, whatever you do that helps me boost and share what we're trying to do here. Your support means the world to me, and your support inspires me every day. So thank you so much. Right now, I'm pretty chill because I just finished a 45-kilometer bike ride. It was beautiful. I went to this spot that is close to the water, and I just spent probably like a good 2 minutes just chilling and appreciating nature. It's such a great privilege for me to do that. So I hope you have something like that in your life, that you could appreciate nature and appreciate your life and appreciate what you have. And if right now, if your life is not as where you want it, just keep on chugging along, to be honest. One step at a time, one day at a time. Try to connect one good day to the next day. And the next thing you know, it's a week, a month, a year. As long as you keep on doing something positive and improving your life slowly, you're going to be all right. All right? So, enough with that personal account. Let's talk about this week's episode. This episode, we're joined by a talented musician. Despite her parents' initial desires for her to pursue a traditional career, she skillfully persuaded them to support her passion for music and turn it into a career. She also shares her colorful experiences from enchanting events and weddings to navigating quirky gigging moments. In this episode, we delve into her insight on overcoming performance anxiety, both for herself and her students. We'll also explore what drives her love for music, her unique teaching methods, her creative process, and why collaboration is the fuel that ignites her creative fire. This was a fun episode, full of light lessons and laughter, so I know you'll enjoy it. So let's not waste more time. Without further ado, let's get into the show. Isa, dalawa, tatlo. Today's guest is a musician. You'll see her captivating audiences at events as she paints the piano keys with elegant melodies that linger in the hearts of listeners. Everyone, please welcome Jessica La.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you for coming on. I really do appreciate it. I know you're a busy lady. Before we move on, why don't you tell the Immigrant Nation where they can reach you, or if you want to promote anything?
Sure. You can find me on Instagram. So Jessica Law Music, or you can find my website, jessicalawmusic.com. Currently, my biggest project is working with a painter, a live painter. So I create the music and the melodies, and he paints to whatever he hears. So
Yeah,
we've been
I've
doing
seen this.
that.
I'm like, yo, that is cool.
Yeah. It's just our favorite way of expressing ourselves a lot more freely. And that gives us the opportunity just to do whatever we want with our art forms.
Who had that idea initially, the painter or you?
I want to say him, actually. We've been friends since, I don't know, since we were very young. We both went to school for our art form. So he went to school for art. I went to school for music. And we've known this about each other for a very long time, but didn't say anything about it until we both ended up being in the bridal party of our friend's wedding. And he was saying, he's like, I think maybe we should try to get together and do something. I don't know why we never talked about it. And that's how it started. And it started small, just a few videos here and there, and then eventually really big shows and doing performances for other events and things like that. So it's been great.
Yeah. Do you cater it to the people that hires you and comes up with it like, hey, by the way, I do this too with the painter, or they just really look for you and like, no, this is what I want, you and the painter.
It's been a really good mix, actually. Oftentimes people ask for the two of us. And if they're asking just me and they want something different or creative and they're asking for a different element of surprise or something to create an experience at their events, that's when I'll throw in the idea of including a live painter or other musicians in addition to myself to make that so much more dynamic.
I'd love to talk about it more, but let's put some background on you. La, that's very different last name. I don't think I've ever heard that last name. Where did that come from?
Um, well, both of my parents are Vietnamese. I think that, from my understanding, I think it's from my dad's side. He might have a bit of Chinese in him, and I think that's where that's from. I don't know a lot about the origins of the last name, but I don't know a lot of people with my last name either, just maybe my cousins.
Yeah, Vietnamese usually is Nguyen or, the typical ones,
Yeah, I know.
That's amazing. And by the way, it's so appropriate because, you're a musician.
Yeah, I hear that a lot as well. Yeah, it
I'm
just worked out.
sure. That's amazing. Are you a first generation or a second generation?
First.
Okay, I get confused with this, by the way. This first generation is the one that moved.
Oh, I thought first was after they've moved.
That's the second
So
generation.
I'm second. I'm the
Okay.
second generation.
All right. Are you close to the culture, or did they, raise you to be close to the culture?
I think early on when I was growing up, I did, I was very much more immersed in it. But then once you start going to school, it's kind of difficult to continue that on. So my parents did divorce when I was much younger. So I think that eventually just English and just the Western culture and everything just sort of became more comfortable or something that I was just more used to.
Do you speak the language?
Not unless it's the food.
The easy parts.
Yeah.
That's funny. But at home, growing up, were they speaking to you in the dialect and you just reply in English?
They spoke to me in Vietnamese. I did respond in Vietnamese, but they did tell me that as I started going to school, I started speaking more in English. And I think they also went to work and spoke English. So I guess it just became common or just something that we did, just English.
I've spoken to a lot of second generation that they kind of regret not learning the dialect of their parents. Do you have that?
I do. I do. I think about that a lot because, uh, I would, as I'm getting older, it's just something that I would want to pass down to my children. I would love for them to be able to speak the language, but then I guess I would just have to have them stay with grandma, grandpa, and just learn from them. Yeah,
Yeah. By the way, that doesn't work all the time. That's why I did that with my kids. It didn't work.
really.
Yeah. I was like, you're supposed to teach them the dialect, then they teach you English. That's how you put that's the transaction. Didn't work.
Oh man. Yeah.
It has to be the mom. The mom has to speak it. I talk about this all the time, like the expression mother tongue.
Hmm.
That means so much. If the
Oh,
mom doesn't speak it, the kids were like, whatever.
yeah. Well, then we're gonna have a problem.
Okay, musician, immigrant parents usually don't work. Usually you're a nurse or you're an engineer.
Yep.
How did you somehow persuade them, or if you did even persuade them?
I think I was lucky. I know that they did math was very important. Math and science. Um, but I also took music at a very young age, and that's all I did. So music camp, like band camp, played so many different instruments, and I excelled in it. And I think that they saw me do so well as a musician. I think that they wanted me to be more. If I was going to be do anything in the field of music, it would be teach. But it's great. Teaching's rewarding, but it's not the same as performing. And it's still a battle constantly, but I think that they see that there's a lot of success in this as long as you just keep working for it. And
Yeah. It really is just they're worried that, someday when they're old, they want to make sure that you're good. You
yeah,
know, that's pretty much it, to be honest.
for
It's
sure.
their fear.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. And I think early on I learned that as well because I did have other jobs when I was doing music part time at first. So, I saved a lot of money and I made sure to make a lot of money and all of those things to secure myself in, you know, if there was a chance that this didn't go well, so I continued to keep that same structure when it came to doing things on my own. I made sure that I was always putting money aside and making sure that I'm securing my future, no matter what it was that I was doing. That was my priority.
Usually, people that are doing unorthodox careers, they usually have like a plan B. Do you have a plan B, or you're like, burn the boats? We're going for this.
This is it.
I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. Who got you into music?
Oh, I want to say my mom. I can't remember. I want to say my mom, but I think that when I was young, my dad also played guitar. He uh, he's brilliant when it comes to playing or just anything. I think he was able to just do without having to really do a lot of the formal training. So he had a fantastic ear, so he could just pick up a guitar and just start playing it. Which to this day, I wish I could do. I cannot. I work on it to get there, but I remember seeing that, and I think that's pushes me to keep working, and training. But yeah,
Yeah, I used to play guitar too when I was in high school because, girls.
yeah,
Then I figured there's like thousands of the boys are playing guitar. I'm like, I am not gonna put myself here. I'm gonna do something else. But yeah, my dad too is the same thing. Like he could just pick up the guitar and just play. But it's better when he's drunk.
oh,
He's just like, I don't know why, but it's like he'll play and I'll be like, okay, play that song. I'm like, I don't know how to song that song. I'm like, I've seen you play that song. There's no way. I'm like, no, 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 no. And then he'll start drinking and then like he'll just play it. I'm like,
that's so funny. So it just triggers a memory or something.
maybe it triggers the memory or probably just like it makes him calm down and relaxes, you know. As a musician, I'm sure you can relate.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess so. I know a lot of musicians. I guess struggle with performance anxiety. If that's what you're referring to, it's quite possible that would help to relieve any kind of anxiety.
Do you have that?
Uh, no. I I think with a lot of practice, you don't really feel that. The only time I would start to feel any kind of performance anxiety would be just before my own shows. So if I was to put on my own event, my own show, and I'm the center of attention, yeah, I feel that until I start playing. And then once I start playing, it's gone. And I don't feel it anymore.
I understand that. Like for me, it's like I play basketball, and before the game, I'm like heaving and have, you know what I mean? And then I get on the court and just like darkness around. You know what I mean? Like they don't even exist. The ball, the opponent, that's it. Nothing else. You know? Do you have that when you're like you said, like once you start playing, like you just zoned?
Yeah. you don't see faces, you don't see people, you're just sort of in it. You're just playing what it is that you want to play.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it's
beautiful. Do you have a mantra that you say before you perform?
I don't think so. I think I maybe. I think the last time I was like, "Yeah, we've got this." I think that's all I said.
I love this. I love it because the confidence, it's not cockiness or like it's just confidence that you can do it because you have practiced so much already.
Hmm. I feel like it tends to go away when you know the music really well. So if you're confident in that, then most of that washes away once you start to play.
Yeah, I got that from Kobe Bryant.
Uh,
He says
yeah.
like if you're prepared, you have confidence. When you have confidence, nothing matters.
Hmm.
Like as I coach basketball with the kids, and some of them like, Coach, how can I be more confident? I'm like, there's no magic pill, buddy. The only way is practice. That's it. It sucks, and you have to practice the boring parts too. You
Hmm.
know, as a teacher,
Yeah.
how do you convey that idea to your students?
The one thing that I've done with them for performance anxiety is having them practice in front of a camera. So they film themselves, and then it's almost like someone's watching, and there's that pressure of making it sound and project the way that they want it to be. But we definitely work on the most challenging parts first. And I think that when it comes to music and teaching music, most students just want to play start to finish. But I always focus on the challenging parts first, because once you get that done and over with, everything else will be a breeze. So yeah, that's what I usually do. And um, taking a step away is really important. I think that we tend to make more mistakes when we focus on the issues or obstacles that we have with the music, but taking a breather or even playing something completely different and then coming back to it later will sort of start fresh. It's like refresh, a refresher.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, take a breather. Sometimes it just like you're just like an I don't know, like a ram that's tried like ramming on the wall, just hoping something will change. Like, dude, it's not gonna change. Take a breather. You know. Did you learn that skill or it just came with you?
I think I had a teacher in university, and at the time I went to school well, I was playing euphonium. He was a private teacher, and it was him. I guess it's a little different than piano, but it was all about breath work. And I was having trouble hitting higher notes, and I was just trying and trying and missing every single time. And I remember he put his hand down on his chair, like on the armrest, and he was like, you know what? Let's take a breather, stand up, walk around the room, sit back down, let's play something else, and we'll come back at the end and try again. And I got it, which was actually really funny. I guess you take away the pressure and then try again, and it'll eventually come.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, I did some research on you, and I saw that you studied euphonium at the University of Toronto.
I did, yeah.
Why that instrument is such a weird looking instrument and it's so big?
It's so funny. When you're in middle school, I think from 6 to 8, most students have the opportunity to take either a band instrument or go into, I think, choir or something of that nature. And I actually didn't want to play that. I started wanting, like, what most students wanted was like saxophone, trumpet. I don't know what the third one was. I don't know, but
Flute.
probably flute.
Hmm.
And they do an assessment on your face, and they just said, you know what, you would actually be like, if you could hold the instrument or if your lips are the right size for certain instruments. Anyway, I was told I would do really well on euphonium, which was so funny. And then I did so well in euphonium. And I went to music school after that, like an art school for high school, where I did the same instrument. I started playing trombone and just brass because I loved brass. And yeah, I did so well with that teacher then said, you should get your bachelor's, do that, do the same thing. I auditioned, got in, and I loved it. So I was playing that in trombone, and it was great.
That's beautiful. To get into a university as a musician, do you play in front of like some, I don't know, like teachers and whatnot, professors?
Yes. So they have multiple people sitting at a table. You come in and then you perform a series of pieces for them with an accompanist. So there'll be a piano player there with you. You perform, and then they'll do a quick interview with you, and that's it. And they'll see if you're a good fit.
What do you love about playing music?
The expression. I think up until recently, I haven't been as comfortable with public speaking. I don't know if you've seen some of my videos, but I think I'm very well known for my blooper reels because it's the pressure of speaking in front of the camera and then needing to get it right for whatever it is that you have to say. And I found I express myself best in the way that I wanted to by playing music. And that's my way of being able to communicate myself the best way that I can.
Yeah, it's like asking a shark to climb a tree. Like you're a shark, bro. I swim, bro. This is what I do.
Yeah.
But it's so funny that you say that you have problem with like speaking in front of a big of a crowd or whatnot, and you perform in front of crowd, and you're like crush it, no problem, right? How you been dealing with that anxiety of speaking in front of the crowd?
It's practice. It's the same thing that I tell my students, do it in front of a camera. In front, you have to do it in front of a camera and keep doing it. And I hope I'm getting better. I think I'm getting better. There are less takes now than there ever have been before. But I think it's that, and just trying to stay calm in those moments, because I think I have this tendency to overthink and try to spew everything out as quickly as possible before I forget what I want to say or the message that I'm trying to convey. So I'm working on that. So yeah, just more of that.
Yeah, I mean, you're a teacher, so that helps up a little bit, like speaking with someone. That's my technique is like I always focus on one person. And I'll say, okay, I'm going to talk to this person, but really I'm talking to the crowd.
I like that.
Yeah. And I'll tell stories in my head like, okay, this person is my friend, and I'm telling him a story. It's just a trick in my head, and then it works a little bit.
Oh, that's good.
And I
like
try
that.
to make it like I always before I like speak whatever, I'll usually have like a three thing to say, and that's I focus on those three things. More than that, you're speaking too much. You know what I mean? Being a teacher, can you discuss your teaching philosophy or your approach?
Sure. I want the students to have fun. Every part of the learning process and the performance aspect, it has to come down to enjoying it. If you're not enjoying it, you're not going to give it your all. You're not going to play to the best of your potential. So that's super important to me. And, not classical music isn't always the most popular. So breaking it up and allowing them to play things like pop songs and playing music games and stuff like that will sort of maintain that engagement. And I think that's really important, is to just really enjoy what you're doing.
That's beautiful. I love that. So, speaking of like performing in front of people, I saw that you perform in front of on CBC, all the TV stations and whatnot, and even TEDx.
Yes.
Were you worried? Were you anxious, or you're just like, I got this, bro?
The ones that I've done, so CBC, TVO, all of those, I guess there were different situations. So some of them I would be in larger groups. So I guess I felt less anxious, and I was much younger as well. And then the TVO one, that one I remember it was just me. I was playing euphonium. Oh my goodness. And I was very nervous. I remember Yeah, I was very nervous. But it went well. I think, yeah, I think that we make things a lot harder in our heads. And then once we get there and it's done and over with, you're just happy it's over. And it's usually a lot better than you had anticipated.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's a story in your head like, oh my God, what if I forgot to press hit this key or this word or whatever.
yeah.
But again, like you said, preparation, right?
hmm
Yeah, Do you compose your own songs?
I do.
What's your
Yeah.
process? I want to know what's your process.
So more recently, I've been dabbling more into film scores or music that sounds more epic for film scores. And my most recent one was for Yamaha, actually, Yamaha Canada, when we did a feature with them. And I wanted to do something that was based around a hero. I'm a big fan of DC and Marvel comics, so I think that's where that first started for me. But it's sort of the process of the story of becoming a hero. What happened? Or we always want to know that origin story, and there's always a moment where they fail. They have their arch nemesis, and then they fail, but then they come back, and it's like this triumphant sound of excitement and success, and that's part of it. So you sort of break down the order of what would happen within that story. And from there, I just sort of sit at the piano and I think, hey, what does this sound like? What does sadness sound like? And what does excitement sound like? And failure. And you sort of dabble with all of these different moments and emotions, and something just comes together and it all just works out. That's the process usually.
Which instrument do you use when you compose usually?
Piano.
Why why you choose piano?
I think piano allows you to play with different harmonies, different sounds and textures, because you have 10 fingers. So it allows you to just do multiple sounds at one time. Whereas if I were to do it on euphonium or trombone, it's just sort of one melody line. And creating any kind of accompaniment to support that would be a lot tougher to do.
Yeah. I've read this book from, what's his name? Stephen King, about writing. The way he approaches is he's like a professional, he goes down, he writes for whatever hours, and then that's it. He pretends like he goes to an office, right? How about you? What's your process? Do you approach it this way, or you just like let the muses speaks to you and just hopefully they sing?
Huh. I think the storyline, I still follow a storyline, but it's not going to always be in order. So I'll play something and be like, what does this sound best for sometimes? And I remember there was this villain, like the sound of the villain. And just like in movies or in your books, there's a reoccurring theme and you want to sort of hear it sort of trickle in every once in a while. And that would always be that depiction of that specific character within this storyline. And that's usually the goal. So if I'm like, I play this is how this sounds. Okay, remember this. We're going to come back to it and see where this fits.
Yeah. And yeah, I like when you're playing or composing, do you try to like think, like if let's say if you're playing, composing a song that is about sadness, do you think about like sad parts of your life? Does that help?
It does a little bit. And the room has to be dark. Like almost all the time I need it to be a dark, cold room and a single light, maybe blue, just there. And just you have to get into that moment. I remember there was a time a few years ago I was going through it. I don't know what I was to this day I don't remember what it was that I was experiencing, but I created the most epic, it was beautifully sad. The most just depressed sounding piece of music that I've ever worked on, but it was beautiful. And I recorded it. But then when asked to replay it a couple years later, I couldn't because I was in such a great place. that I couldn't remember what I was going through in that moment. So that's a bit of an obstacle as well, that having to remember that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
I
do
love
remember
that.
that story.
I love that story. Thank you for sharing. Like, yeah, you have to be in that moment because, for people that does not create in that sense, they usually like, dude, you play the song, play the stupid song again. It's in your head. But for you, no, it's a different I have to be in that mood. I have to feel that emotion before I can play that the way I play it.
Yeah.
So you're teaching, you also perform, and you also play at weddings or
Yes.
events. What made you start playing at weddings and events?
It started when I was teaching at a school um, over a decade ago. And someone just randomly said, "Hey, I need a piano player. Can you come?" And it started from that, and it was fun. I actually quite enjoyed it. I'm someone that loves love. I love the rom coms. I love all those things. So being
You're
part
a
of the
sucker.
weddings, I am a huge sucker. I love it. I'm smiling from ear to ear, just about in every ceremony. So I just enjoyed that, and being able to serenade them in that moment, just to let them have that moment and feel what the music is sort of trying to portray in that time. So it's
Yeah.
I do quite like it. It's fun.
That's awesome. What's your approach in making sure that you enhances the atmosphere of the event or the wedding specifically?
So I make sure that the music is romantic, but it just really depends on the couple. But usually they'll say, "This is sort of the theme that we're going for," and I'll customize something based on that information. So yeah, for example, I had a what's it called, a wedding where they did a Disney theme for the entire wedding.
Wow.
Yeah, so I chose a bunch of pieces that were romantic, but that were Disney songs, and that was just perfect. It went really well, and it's set the mood, and it was just very sweet. I think that's sort of what I was going for, something that was sweet.
Speaking of that, how do you balance being creative while meeting your clients' wishes?
Well, I think that a lot of the times when clients reach out to me, they've heard me play. Most musicians, actually, none of us are the same. None of us play the same, and so I think that they know how I play, and there will be certain songs that they want, and they'll expect me to put my own twist on it. So that allows me a bit of creative space to make something my own and still give them exactly what they wanted.
I love that. That's a great idea. Yeah. Do you prefer big weddings or small weddings?
I like the small ones.
Yes.
Yes.
More intimate,
Yeah. Very intimate, and it's just you feel a lot more in that room when it's small.
Yeah, because the couple like really chose these people.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna choose, I don't know, let's say 50 people. This is they're like the first round picks. Like the rest are like, I don't care about these people. I do love small weddings too. What's the largest wedding you ever played for?
I think there were 700 people.
That is a lot, dude.
Yeah. I think it was 700, 6 or 700. It was a lot. It was very, very tight in that room.
Is that
And
Italian wedding?
it was an Indian wedding, a South Asian
Indian.
one.
Okay.
And it was quite large. There was, I just don't know how they
700.
fit.
That is a concert.
Yeah, it was huge. I don't know how they fit all of us in that room. I really don't. But yeah, that would probably be my largest wedding. It was fun
Okay.
still.
You mentioned that the wedding is an Indian wedding, right?
Hmm.
Have you ever had a situation that a person, the couple is like, let's say Indian or whatever culture, and they ask you to play music from their culture? Has it ever happened?
Yes.
And how do
And
you approach that?
I do it.
Wow.
Yeah. I know a lot of South Asian weddings have become a lot more, for myself, it's been a lot more popular recently. And they really like Bollywood music played on live instruments. So I started learning a bunch
No.
and just playing. Yeah, and sometimes they'll give me requests and I'll see if it's something that I can learn, then I'll do it. Yeah.
What's the weirdest gig you ever done?
Oh, weirdest gig. Well, can I say there was one that I was going to do and it ended up getting canceled?
Sure.
I was supposed to play on a horse-drawn carriage
Wait,
in
are
the
you
middle.
on the carriage?
Yes. Oh man, it was a Valentine's Day surprise date, and they wanted myself to play on this horse-drawn carriage, and I was more concerned about how cold it would be because it was February. And we had lots of snow that year, and then they wanted to stop and go to the skating rink and then come back and drive some more, and I was just going to sit on the horse-drawn carriage for the entirety of the date. So I thought that to me was kind of weird. That ultimately got canceled.
Why did it get canceled? They broke up?
Yes.
Did you? Bro,
They did.
that is I'm sure you'll be charging extra for that, bro. That's dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah. And normally most musicians don't play in weather or temperatures below 17 degrees.
Okay,
And
why?
this is like, well, just because our fingers can't move or our instruments won't be as effectively used. And it's impossible to, like, if your fingers are frozen, you cannot play. Like, you just cannot.
People
Yeah.
are crazy, man.
Yeah. So I said, we need heaters, like, everywhere, and some sort of coverage would be great.
For sure. Do you have a contract that they sign before? Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. They
So
definitely have to.
let's say that, right? They sign a contract. Hopefully, you got paid, and they got canceled. You still get paid?
Yes. So there is a deposit that they would have to pay to secure it. Yeah, and then contracts, we would have to make amendments in order to fit the description of the event. If it's something like that, for example, like insurance and, I need to be fed or warmth, and if these things are not fulfilled, then unfortunately we can't go through with the performance.
That is insane. I cannot. I mean, I'm a romantic, but this guy went all it got
Yeah.
canceled, but still
Yeah.
makes
Yeah.
sense, you know?
Yeah, and I was there for the first date as well, so that was also a little uncomfortable. So I already knew that it was going to be a weird vibe.
You were there for the first date?
I was also there for their very first date. Yes.
What do you mean? These people contacted you to this
They contact. Yeah.
first date?
So yeah, that one was a little awkward as well because I was told different. It was going to be in this big hall, and they were going to have it catered, and it would just be them having an intimate dinner. And then it turned into a 1-bedroom condo that was gutted, so there was no furniture, and it couldn't have been more than 400 square feet. And so I was sitting in the corner playing, and they were within arm's reach of me, and I could hear their entire conversation. It was incredibly awkward. And there was a sushi, like a chef there, serving them dinner, but we could all hear each other because it's not a lot of space.
On a first date, you pulled something like that.
Yep, very first date.
I mean, I'm a romantic, but this guy is crazy.
Yeah, he wanted to do it again for the second date, and that's ultimately didn't go through.
Yeah. Okay. Weddings, alcohol, people get crazy. What's the craziest ever happened in the wedding?
The craziest thing, like to me,
To you, or I guess in the event?
craziest thing that's happened to me, or at the event.
Like some
Oh,
crazy guy, drunk guy, just start like hugging you and stuff and start singing with you.
the singing part is common, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, nobody touches me, which is great because that would be very weird if I'm playing and you're just jumping on me and hugging me. But they do come around and they just start singing at the top of their lungs to whatever it is that I'm playing, as if it's karaoke.
I hope these are not Filipinos.
No, it's no.
You know us. We love singing.
Actually, I've done a Filipino wedding, and when they did sing along with me, it was a lot of fun. That one
Mm.
was the best wedding I've done, I think,
Oh
when it
yeah.
came to like the energy of the crowd, because I played a bunch of old stuff, and it was really for me because that was the mood that I was in, and just to
Mm.
hear them sing along just made it a lot more fun.
They made you fat, eh? Feeding you too much food.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's what they do. I tell people all the time, stop hanging out with Filipinos. You meet a Filipino just to say hi to a Filipino and hang out with that person, you gain 10 pounds.
Ah, that's
Yeah.
okay. I don't mind.
Have you ever experienced not getting paid?
No, I'm just gonna knock on some wood. No, no, I haven't had that problem.
Yeah, because I guess you have a contract, right?
Mm.
But okay, so the contract, you get paid the initial pay, you play, and then how does it work? Like, you get paid after?
Yeah. Oh, so they have to pay to secure the to secure the date, and then they'll pay me 7 days before the event. So I get paid
Oh,
before in advance. I'm also signed the contract, so I'm bound by contract as well to be there.
okay. Has it ever happened to you that you couldn't make it?
No.
You always make it.
Hmm.
What if you're
Yeah.
sick? Like, sick, you know?
I mean, again, I'm gonna knock
Yeah,
on
of
some
course.
wood. But,
This is always, always.
I haven't had that problem yet. If I am sick, I mean, I I guess I would have someone that could come in my place.
Mm, mhm. Weddings, a lot of people, and then pandemic happened.
Yep.
How did it affect you personally and professionally?
Oh, that was the darkest, coldest few years of my life, and that's when that song was written. The one that was really, really good.
I want to hear this song, man.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. It was hard. It was very tough because I made money on performing. I made money for teaching, and all of these things required me to be in the same room as these people. So once weddings were canceled or postponed, and um, same with teaching, I think that I just sort of sat, just sat for a while and just hoped that things would get lifted. And yeah, that was definitely difficult. And then as soon as things opened up, that year was the craziest year of my life. Just performing constantly
Mhm.
just to make up for lost time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the energy after, like, everything's okay now. It's just like people were out. People
Yeah.
were like, wants to party all the time, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Lots, there was a lot going on. That's for
So
sure.
during those dark moments, what were you telling yourself to keep on going?
I think I said, I'm like, it's going to be fine. We'll be okay.
You were lying
I,
to yourself.
I think so. I was like, next week is the week. We'll be back. Next week. We'll be back. Oh, next week.
Next month,
Yeah, next month.
next year.
Yeah. I was fortunate enough because once virtual events started happening, I was able to perform for those virtual events. And actually, I had a funny gig then too. But so at the time, I guess I was new to navigating Zoom, and it was a giant Zoom birthday party. And for me to be able to give them the best sound, I needed to plug my keyboard directly into my computer, and that would have been my microphone. So I couldn't speak and play simultaneously because I didn't know how to do that. So I was plugged in and I thought, okay, I'm just going to play a few of these songs like they told me to. Anyway, I when they were saying, "Hey, Jessica's got some songs for you," nobody knew where I was because I was in one of those small boxes. So I started typing in the chat saying, "Hey, sorry, I can't speak, but I can just start playing." And I started playing, but every single time everyone would applaud, I would say thank you because I would sort of sign it because you can't really see me saying it or hear me saying it. And then at the end of the performance, I realized I think they thought I was deaf. Because when you're applauding, when you're applauding, the way that they do it in sign language is to shake your hands, like. And I noticed as I was leaving, they were all doing this, but I can hear them. They just can't hear, they just can't hear me speaking.
And then you're doing one of these too.
And I was just like, thank you. And they're just doing one of these. And yeah, that one was my funniest gig during COVID.
That is so funny. How was that experience, like playing for a crowd, but they're not there, the energy's not there?
It's hard to really get into it because when you're performing, you feed off the energy of the room. So it's just, everything just sort of felt flat. Like everyone's staring at you, but you don't know how they're really feeling because you can't feel their energy. So you just really had to just fake it, just really hope that you could do it all on your own and just feel that energy without them trying to fill that space.
Mm. You usually bring a, I don't know what you call it, organ? Is it an organ or a keyboard?
Just like a
keyboard,
digital,
right?
yeah, keyboard. Mm-hmm.
You use a Yamaha?
Yes.
Okay, you mentioned Yamaha. I know there's Nord. I used to work for a company that deals with this, with Nord. Obviously, you have a preference. How do you decide the preference? Because, I mean, it's like electronic keyboard. I mean, it'll sound the same, no?
No, they're so different.
I know, because you're smart. I'm not. Explain it to me.
It comes down to feel. And not all keyboards feel the same because of the way that they're created or just the style. As someone that's always played on an acoustic piano, like the one behind me, I'm used to something that's weighted and I need something like that. And sometimes when you're playing on a digital piano or a keyboard, you don't get that same effect or feel that will allow you to sort of create the same dynamics. So volume or just expression in general. So that's why I tend to lean on like the Yamaha because I've always played Yamaha. A lot of my instruments were Yamaha instruments. And so it's just been a big preference for me to perform on. Just, it feels great.
Is music or playing an instrument a skill or you're just born with it?
Oof. I think for me, it was a skill. I did have to work very hard, but I enjoyed that. That was, for me, it was something that I enjoyed. So I didn't mind putting in the work. I think to maintain it, especially it's a little bit of both because I've had some students who were just incredible, but they would need technical training in order to maintain what they had. So I think it's a little bit of both.
Do you think if anyone wants to put in the work, everyone can play music?
Yes, I think so. I think everyone's style is going to be different. So not everyone's way of performing is for everyone, not for every listener. But I think that everyone has the capacity to be a musician.
Mm-hmm. For sure. What's the favorite genre of music you play?
R&B.
Again, sucker for love.
Yeah, 90s R&B.
Always, dude. There's nothing better.
It has to be. I think it's just that era of music is just completely different. I hate saying that because that ages me. But it's just that music is you just can't compare anything to it.
Yeah. I was watching a show with my kids, and we're watching one of the episodes. Here, D'Angelo was there,
Mm.
so I had to explain who's D'Angelo is. I was like, dude, that guy is like, I have to pull like, I don't know who's their new guy now. I'm like, that's the dude, bro. Like that guy is a killer, bro.
Yeah, actually, we were just talking about him the other day. We were wondering where he's been, which is so funny that it's been brought up.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, sometimes things lines up, and you're like that happens all the time though. Like coincidence, like people will talk about something, and then suddenly you'll see it. Like what? How is that possible?
And I was just playing D'Angelo at my last gig, which is so
No
funny.
way.
Yes.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Yeah, that's
It's
so
funny.
funny.
This morning, I was thinking about if we're living in a simulation. I was like, then these things happen. I'm like, what is going on right now, dude?
I know. It's such an odd thing.
Yeah. Anyways, what makes you stand out as a musician compared to the other, wedding performers?
I think that when I perform, I sort of fuse everything that I've learned in the past together. So a lot of the times when you're a classically trained pianist, you're comfortable performing one specific genre of music, which is usually classical. But as someone was trained also as a brass player, I played in R&B groups. I played as a backing musician for rappers and in salsa bands. I learned jazz. All of those things that I've learned as a horn player sort of merged with the classical piano. So whenever I perform now, I do a combination of the two. It's, in my mind, a little bit more soulful as opposed to being very strict and structured, which classical music tends to be.
Yeah. I see that you collaborate a lot with a person that earlier we talked about the painter. You also have this dude that plays violin. And then the other one is what do you call
Steel
the
pan.
steel pan, which is amazing. I was like, steel pan and piano, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's fun. I think that if you can play piano and sure, but when you get to play with other people, it just adds a little bit more excitement.
Have you ever thought of like putting them together and perform as a band?
It's the violin and the steel pan may not pan out as well or work as well together. I've also worked with a few singers, so we've done singing like a singer, piano, and like a violinist and things like that. We've done a few little things like that, but we've also combined the painting with any of the music options.
Wow.
But yeah.
Which one is your favorite to collaborate? The piano, the violin, or the painter?
The painter. Definitely the painter. Yeah.
The violin guy is gonna get mad if he listens to this.
Yeah, it's just I think most of the time when I play with the violinist would be wedding music. So what I do with the painter allows me to be more expressive and do exactly what I want to do, play only what I want to play. And that's why I love performing with him. And as a painter, an artist, he also wants to do whatever he wants. He doesn't want anyone to tell him what to do. And that's sort of the difference between when you're doing weddings, you have to cater, or events, you have to cater to your client. Whereas when it's your own show and your own performance, you can do whatever you want. And people who come to see you are going to enjoy it because they know what you do. Right?
Yeah.
It's just a lot more fun.
I love that you said that because you're going crazy. He's going crazy too.
Yeah.
The more he goes crazy, you go crazy too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
That is. Has it ever happened that, I don't know, he kind of need a time out for the painting while you're performing, or it doesn't matter, you just continue anyway?
I don't think we've had that issue, but we can both just keep going. I think we both just have music playing in our heads no matter what. So
wait. Do you practice together? Like,
no.
Yeah, you can't, right?
Yeah,
He's
we
not gonna
don't.
waste paint.
Yeah, he likes the excitement and the surprise element of the performances. He sat in with a couple rehearsals in the past whenever I've uh, had to host a dress rehearsal before our show, so he'll be there temporarily and step in. But no, he doesn't really practice with us. And it's exciting because most of the time I have no idea what that end piece is going to be. I don't know what that painting is going to be, and he doesn't know what the music is going to be. So sometimes I'll just look over to see what he did, and it's just so much more fun.
Yeah, it's like a surprise for you as well.
Hmm.
I like that. Has it ever happened that the couple at the wedding didn't like the painting?
I don't know.
What do you mean?
I mean, they've never voiced it to me, so I don't know.
Well, the face,
Um,
like sometimes you can still tell.
well, they would come in and be excited. So, but I don't think they're faking it. I would hope they're not faking it.
I hope
But
not.
yeah, most of the time, the painter, when it's something like a wedding, it's a little bit more structured, so he can customize something, and they'll have an idea as to what it might look like beforehand, because they usually want a painting of the two of them.
Yeah, for
So he'll
sure.
just get pictures of them and try to figure out, I don't know, whatever artists do, whatever it is they do. I have no
Whatever
idea.
magic they do.
Yeah, that's not my area of expertise.
Yeah. Have you ever declined a customer's request?
Mm, no, I don't think so. I don't think so. Um, I mean, I've loved the idea of a challenge. So most times I want to do it, even if I've never done it before and it's a request. I'll look into it and see if I can. So I've never really said no, not that I can remember. Anyway,
Well, you're well established. Like, have you ever? Are you in the position now that you could actually say no to clients?
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
What's the determining factor that makes you say no to a client?
I think it's when the boundaries are crossed. So sometimes if I'm performing for a certain amount of time, for example, and that's what we've decided, um, or certain music, I need to know in advance what genre or style they're looking for. But I won't change that like a week before, which some people will do, try to change the music and the schedule and everything, which, is not fair because any vendor or performer anywhere, they have a strict schedule. And let's say I have multiple gigs in the same day, you can't suddenly hold me more hours than we've discussed or expect me to suddenly know how to play something out of nowhere with very little notice. That's I think
Yeah,
that's usually the case.
that makes sense. Is this your dream to play music for people, like events, or do you prefer it to be like in a concert hall?
Huh. Yeah, I think it was the concert hall. At one point I said I want to be a musician for Bruno Mars.
Again,
I,
Filipino.
yeah, I went to his concert a few years ago and I was like, oh man, I would kill to be on that stage. And I think the ultimate goal is actually to take Painting Keys to a massive stage. We are currently working on moving it to Asia, so we're trying to see what we can do in that area.
But have you been? By the way, good luck with that, and I'm sure it's gonna be amazing.
Thank you.
But before moving to Asia, have you thought of like touring at least Canada? You know.
Oh yes, yes. Oh, so what I mean is just sort of expanding because there are contacts that we have out there who are some sort of artists in a creative field. So a collaboration to sort of bring the name into another area will allow us the opportunity to travel. But we are working on doing something within Canada as well. But
That's
everything has to
amazing.
start. Yeah, we have to start somewhere, or sort of just make sure the name is dropped in there so they're aware of what it is. Because
Let me
everything
know when you
takes.
come to Montreal. I want to see.
Yeah, definitely.
I
We're
want to see
hoping for
the
that.
magic. Right now, you're just focusing on Toronto for now, or surrounding area.
that's been our biggest focus. I guess 'cause it's home for us, so we try to stay there, but we are looking at moving around.
I saw you that you play in BC. One of the gigs you play in BC.
Yes, that's the piano trio that I was playing in. I think that I might be there in the fall again, and they those two musicians are just incredible. They blew me away. Just hearing them play is just different. I don't know how to explain that. I think it's because I'm not around it as much. But being there and just hearing them play was just a different level of excitement for me. It was a lot of fun.
I like what you said that because you saw them and they're really good, and obviously you're as good as well. But to be good at something, to be better, is it's better if you have a training partner.
Hmm.
Do you have a training partner, or
No,
you just do your thing?
no. I mean, there's again. I'm going to go back to the painter. He's not a musician, but he challenges me, and I think that's what when we challenge each other to push each like in within our respective fields, and that's been it for me. But I no, which I would love. I've been trying to see if I can also work with more women, which is something that I would love to be doing. Um, I don't have that yet.
You know what? You're right because all the dudes that you collaborate are dudes.
They're all dudes.
Why? Why are you not hanging out with chiquitas?
I'm trying. It's so funny because of the way that I've met every single person. We've had some sort of history. Either we've worked together teaching at the same school and our schedules lined up, and that's how that happened, or we worked together for like a record label, or it just happened to be that way, and the instruments worked out perfectly. I've recently started working with a female violinist, and the company that she was working for is based in Quebec. So that's been great, and that's another female-owned business as well, and we're seeing where that goes for us as well.
Why is that important for you?
It's a different energy. I think that there's a different kind of support with women and just understanding what it's like to be within this in this world, in this field, because it is a male-dominated industry to be in, and sometimes it's really difficult to manage and navigate all the things that happen when you're working in it.
100%. Listen, Jessica, I think we're there. It's been such a pleasure having a conversation with you.
Thank you.
Before we close out, do you have anything to impart us with, or if you have any last remarks?
Oh no. I've had a great time. No, thank you so much for having me.
That's amazing. That's all I need. We need to practice on the speaking part, though. You know? But no,
Yeah.
seriously, like you don't have to say anything poignant or whatever. But I just like, why don't you just say your Instagram again or your website? Go ahead.
Sure. To find me, you can find me on Instagram at Jessica Law Music or on my website, jessicalawmusic.com.
Amazing. Again, Jessica, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it too. That was
Of course.
great.
Have a good night.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Again, Jessica, thank you for coming on the podcast. I really do appreciate it. Thank you, listeners, for listening. This is Aaron Del Llosa for An Immigrant's Life. I'll see you guys later.